It's a Down Beach Buzz real estate webcast with Sherri Lilienfeld of EXP Realty. And Sherri, there's something going on. If you have a rental unit and you rent it out, you better be taking a good look at this thing called a lead-based paint certification. Why don't you explain what this means, and are there fines involved and all that?
I actually spoke about this August. This law came into effect August 2022, but the municipalities had to figure out how to implement it. So now they're finally buckling down, figuring it out. So this certification relates to any rental unit built prior to 1978. That's a really important year, because if your property is built in 1978 or later, you don't have to worry about this. It was interesting. I looked at my list of all my clients for my rentals, and they're all, except for one, beyond 1978. So that's
what's the big deal of what happened after 78 where it's not a big deal? Why is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in 1978, the laws changed regarding lead-based paint usage. So lead-based paint became you weren't able to use it after 1978. Therefore, lead-based paint is not an issue for homes built after 1978. And that's what that year is so important. So yeah, this starts in July 1, 2024, this year. So if you're renting out a unit, you're applying for a certificate of occupancy. Now, on top of submitting, you have to have your insurance showing that you have insurance to cover your rental units. You also have to have a certification. So if you apply for a certificate of occupancy, this needs to accompany it.
And who are the folks that go in and actually do the inspection? Who does that?
So there are some agencies, like for example, Ventnor handed me a whole packet of information where they have like I wouldn't call it a partner, but an organization who is set up to do these inspections. I think the inspection costs about $250. So yeah, you have to use a certified company to do your certification, and they take swabs of, if you have peeling paint, that's an issue. Honestly, if you have a home older than 1978, the best thing you need to do is scrape any paint, make sure there's any paint particles, that your house is really well maintained. The issue with lead-based paint is, now I've never eaten lead-based paint, but apparently.
Oh, man. Okay. You mean back in the day, it was paint chips that kids were eating?
Yeah, the paint chips. So apparently it tastes very sweet. Kids like it, and so they keep eating it. And yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know, one of my seminars. Like, that's why they like to eat it. It tastes good. So the issue is when you have a poorly maintained property with paint chips and the kids eat it. So even if you have a home older than 1978, the best thing you could do is make sure it's freshly painted. There's no paint chips. There's no issues there that could come up in a certification, because I'm going to tell you, if they come in and they say you have lead-based paint and you need to do something, it's going to cost a fortune. You got to strip all that paint down. You have to repaint. It is a nightmare.
Let me ask you this. What if you put wallpaper on top of the lead-based paint? Does that keep you from being not certified? Do we know that?
The issue is it's like on trim, your window trim. You're not going to put wallpaper on your windowsills, on your baseboard. It's really the trim, the part that gets a lot of nicks, wear and tear, that starts peeling, that's subjected to the weather. Like, you've seen windowsills where they crack and split.
You think that's common? You think that's common down here?
Well, I would say it depends on your municipality. If you're dealing with a very worn and tired rental property in Atlantic City, yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of it. Maybe even some of the older homes in Ventnor. Margate, you have a lot more newer construction. It really depends on your municipality. As you go north, I think it's more of an issue.
But if the older, in general, the older the housing inventory in a town, it's more likely that you might have lead-based paints in your home, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And Also, even like, let's say, take an older home with a balcony and like old railing. Like, not everyone has vinyl railing, so even there, they'll look at outside the home too, because that is an issue. There was actually a big lawsuit. This is an interesting story. There was this big lawsuit where this realtor got sued because he forged the lead-based paint certification that there was no lead-based paint, or the owner didn't know. Anyway, this kid got sick. This kid ended up dying, and they found out this realtor forged a lead-based paint disclosure that an owner's supposed to sign, and he was found liable for this child's death. It's terrible. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about some of the fines and what's required.
And real quick, at the same time, over the next 10 years, these towns in New Jersey have to replace lead pipes underground. So that's another issue where there's expense, but we know why we're doing it, because lead-based paint and the pipes, it's making a lot of us sick over the past few decades, if not longer.
Well, the thing with lead, it's a heavy metal. Okay, this is the chemical engineer talking to you now. It's a heavy metal. It doesn't metabolize in your body. It kind of sits in cells. It'll sit, and that's why once you have lead poisoning, it's like mercury poisoning. It doesn't digest through your body and dissipate out of your system. It's a problem that gets into your cells and wreaks havoc on your health.
Sounds like forever plastics on some construction sites.
Yes, it's just like forever plastics, which also get into your cells and don't leave. So yeah, there's a lot of, unfortunately, we still have a lot of hazards and contaminants that are in our society that are wreaking havoc on our health. So anyway, this certification, there are companies, and if you go on the website in New Jersey, you can find a list of companies that do it, but each municipality will give you some recommendations. But the certification only lasts for 2 years. So any landlord that owns a property older than 1978 is going to have to get recertified for 2 years, every 2 years when there's changeover.
So that's odd. So if you get certified, that means somebody came in, inspected, and they find no lead-based paints. They got to come back 2 years later. I guess, why would somebody then break out of the garage some old paint and paint again? Is that what their fear is?
Well, maybe it has to do with maintenance. Like, they didn't find it, but then let's say you had a water leak around your window, and then the casing around the window starts splitting and the paint starts peeling. Then you can have a lead-based paint issue when you didn't have it before because of your lack of maintenance on a property. It really keeps landlords in check to really maintain their property.
So the landlords need to realize that the expense will come about maybe $200 every 2 years, huh?
200, 250, yes. And that's if they don't, that's just to say your house is fine. If they find something, the abatement is very costly.
Ugh.
Yeah. So if the rental market wasn't challenging enough, now there's an extra layer on it. Yeah.
What if I don't comply, Miss Lilienfeld of EXP?
The fines are major. They could be up to $1,000 per week for a fine. $1,000 per week. If that doesn't cut into your profitability as a landlord, I don't know what does. But they're major fines.
Who is doing the inspection?
To see if you've done it. Well, the thing is, if you rent your property and apply for a certificate of occupancy when you rent it, with the paperwork, you have to include that you have active insurance on the property and that it meets the minimum criteria for the insurance. But now you also must include the certification.
So the Margate or the Ventnor guy who inspects the short-term rentals, make sure you got a mercantile, make sure you got a CO. At the same time, he's checking to see whether you have the certification for this. Hey, we got no lead paint here, right? Is that how that works?
Right. So really what's going to happen is where this fine I see coming into place. If somebody rents, but they don't get their certificate of occupancy, they don't file their paperwork, and someone reports them. Maybe you have a disgruntled tenant who, if you're not fixing things and they're getting upset, they're going to call code enforcement on you. And then they could find out you didn't get the certification, or you didn't get your certificate of occupancy, and then that's when your problems begin. So the bottom line is just do things right and within compliance, and keep your properties well maintained, and you should be fine.
Yeah, I think enforcement's always a tough one, especially along the shore. They have trouble hiring. They have trouble hiring people to go about and do inspections and enforce current ordinance, whether it's for short-term rentals or noise violations or lead pipes and or lead-based paints around your windowsills. I don't know where we're going to find all these employees to do all that. That's an awful lot of people to hire, and it's not easy hiring good people. Certified, and you got to be certified too.
Yeah, well, that's just for the lead-based paint certification. I'm telling you, enforcement is a big issue in any industry. When I worked in the chemical industry, I used to go calling on chemical plants and talk to them about their emissions and what they needed to do. And they would say, I'd rather just pay the fine, because sometimes it's cheaper. Not in this case, obviously not in this case, but sometimes people just roll the dice, as they say down here in the Atlantic City area, and they take their chance. Enforcement is a big issue in a lot of different situations.
Hey, I think there's some nice rentals that just hit the market. Can you tell me about it? These Down Beach summer rentals. You can go at the DownbeachBUZZ.com and then click through to get to Sherri Lilienfeld's website. You got a nice one on Princeton Avenue in Ventnor, don't you?
Yeah. So this property was built 2010. It's fairly new. It's a very modern home. You could see it on the back. There's a nice deck on the back. It has 2 garages, outdoor shower. It's really nice. What's really neat about this property is when you go in on the ground floor, they have a ping pong table. It's big and open on the main level, and then the living areas.
You got 2 garages, I see, as well. That's great.
Yeah, 2 garages for your bikes, whatever.
It's only good. You only have it available, July 1 through Labor Day?
Yeah, so we have a repeat tenant in that one. Every June they come back, and which is great because most people don't care about June, but they love the place. They come every June.
What about this place, Douglas Avenue in Margate? I think it's available. I mean, it went pretty fast. You only have it available for August of 2024. What about this one?
So this one I've rented for many years. The owners are, and both of these properties, the landlords are great landlords. They stay in their place so that they know what it needs. They make sure that it has everything you need as a tenant, but they also are impeccably clean. They make sure it's nice and clean and neat. It's close to like the bagel place. It's on Douglas, so it's on the side of town where Castles is, and Taco Cat, and the bagel place, and Boca. It's again a nice open layout. This one has a downstairs like den area. So the main level is all open, but then downstairs is a den area where there's another TV and a place. They're both just really great houses with fantastic landlords. I think that's a big deal when the landlord is accommodating. They make sure when you come in, everything is there for you. They both have listened to me. I asked them both to put together a binder. So when people come in, it tells you, how to get on the internet, everything about the house, when's trash day. So they both have nice binders welcoming you.
4-bedroom, 2-bath for $18,500 will get you 211 North Douglas Avenue in Margate, and it's available for the month of August. I think it's a pretty sweet deal. The numbers are right there. Go to DownbeachBUZZ.com and you'll find all that detail and the phone number of Sherri, and you can click through to her website to go even deeper into some of these properties. And one more property, a real beauty. They call it the Beach Block Beauty. It's actually a couple of blocks away from where I live. Direct ocean view. It's not exactly up on the boardwalk, but it's back a little bit. So that's really nice. Nothing in front of you, a chef's kitchen, elevator, pool, and 5-bed, 5.5 bath, Ventnor new construction. I love this place. It's almost done. I walk by it a lot. So it's maybe 3/4, 80% done, Sher?
Yeah, and I really think this is the best buy in Ventnor. It's new construction, beautifully done. And like you said, 5 bedrooms, 5.5 baths. It's 2.85 million. Really a great deal. Definitely, if you want to see it, contact me. This is courtesy of Darlene Rumpus from Keller Williams. She's a great realtor and good friend of mine, and so helping her get the word out about this fantastic property.
So tell me about, what is a chef's kitchen? I can assume that it's a kitchen that is something that's going to be loved by somebody who's a professional chef. It has all the details that a professional chef would prefer in a kitchen, right? Is that the way that works?
like the nicer stoves, the higher end stoves, the big deep sink.
Trying to get better at this because I'm a wannabe realtor, but it's a 3-stop elevator, and that's becoming very common, meaning 3 different levels the elevator stops at. Who would think that elevators would be a mandatory amenity or a feature of these homes, because these homes are moving up, and as we get older, we don't want to traipse up steps because it's just too doggone difficult. So elevators are almost as common now as pools, or as necessary as pools,
yeah. Like if you're buying new construction, you want that elevator. Yes, for exactly the reason you said. People are aging in these homes. They don't want to do the steps. Those elevators are super, super important. So.
And I think it's right next to the 5,000. You can see the 5,000 condo in the background. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. But there's no, like you said, it's not beachfront, but the lot in front of it is vacant, so you have an unobstructed view of the beach.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it is. I was going to call it beachfront, but technically it's not. But there's nothing in its way. It's a pure shot to see the boardwalk, the beach, and the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. I saw you were commenting on Wok Works, the old Stewart's root beer, the old Greens and Grains.
So I drive by that Wok Works place. I've been watching them do all this work, and a lot of work. And then I saw them paint it that dark green color. I'm like, I wonder what's going there. Of course, I go on DownbeachBUZZ, and then there it was. I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. I mean, I love stir fries.
Tell me how that looks so delicious, doesn't it?
It does. All right. I'm getting hungry now.
All right. So realtysherry@gmail.com, EXP Realty. It's the DownbeachBUZZ Real Estate Webcast. We'll talk to you later, Sherri. How's that? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.